Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to the Coaching Call podcast. On this podcast, we'll cover various types of coaching by trainers in sports, martial arts, fitness, and business. We'll discuss each coach's methods to getting the most out of their respective athletes or clients and how they attempt to change the platform in which they coach. Join us on a fun adventure as we discuss unique coaching styles. Coaching is a universal part of how we get others to get something done. Join your host, Rafael, and his guests on this unique journey in coaching.
Hi, I'm Sifu Rafael, and this is the Coaching Call podcast. If you enjoy this episode, please subscribe and leave a review. This episode was made possible by listeners like you. Logan, good morning. I know it's very early for you there, but thank you so much for being on the Coaching Call. How are you?
I'm well. Never too early for you.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. So like I was telling you before, I'm just a very curious guy, and I love engaging with people who know how to hit the balls, right? Know how to be in the game, as we talked earlier. Because no matter how many curveballs or straight or fast balls come at you, it's about navigating and knowing how to back, right? Be in the game, like you said. I love that part. So tell me, where were you born?
Was born on the south side of Chicago, in the mid '80s. So that's an interesting time.
Oh yeah. I remember I had a lot of fun back then when you were born. So let's you are now between two places. Where are those?
Las Vegas and Los Angeles.
We're gonna get into that.
Yeah.
Get into that. It's gonna be so much fun. So I want to basically take this, and everybody who's ever seen the shows knows how I love doing it. We go from your childhood to where you are today. So tell me, who influenced you before the age of 10 or 15?
Oh my goodness. At those ages, it's super, everyone that you come in contact with, super influential. I was raised by my mother and my grandmother, as we'll get into, and I would say those were probably the most predominant figures in my life because, there were so many touch points, day in and day out. To this day, I mean, she's passed now, but my grandmother is still my favorite person in the world. Second to my daughter now.
Right. So when you just said something, I think it's pretty important. You said now is your daughter, but your grandma, even though she passed, and God bless her. You talk about your daughter for now, and do you see some of the qualities that maybe you saw in your grandmother and your daughter?
Oh my goodness. Absolutely. My daughter was fortunate enough to spend a significant period of time with her great grandmother and seeing them interact together. My grandmother passed at 89, and my daughter, who's now 18, she got to experience you know my grandmother while she was super cognizant and aware, and they got to interact, and their both of their levels of kindness and care for humanity and people, um just super overwhelming in that way. Both wonderful smiles, both deeply caring about family and
Mm.
um taking care of people, which I'm sure we'll get into later, but just that big heart that is kind of endless, that I
Mm.
admire so much, is definitely resonant in both of them.
You just said your daughter's 18, and I'm over here thinking, man, he looks 21, 22. Wow, you have great genes, brother.
I'm trying every day, taking care of the body.
Yeah. So you talked about your mom and your grandma being an influence in your life. Tell me, what was life like from what you recall as a child all the way to maybe 15, 20?
Sure. It was, I mean, frankly, life was tough. On the south side of Chicago, I grew up to, my mom. I didn't know my dad. My mom lived with my grandmother, so that's why, there was a lot of
Mm.
contact there.
Right.
Um, we were pretty poor, not dirt poor, but we had, all the things we needed, but not a lot of extras. And so with that comes some heartache and some pain. And my mother was super determined not to let her little boy fall into the
Mm.
cycle of everyone else on the south side of Chicago.
Right.
So
Wow.
she made a lot of sacrifices in her life so
Mm.
that I could have some things um, that she didn't have, or opportunities that she didn't have. So it was pretty tough growing up.
Mm.
She was a difficult woman to please.
Mm.
She struggled with uh, border personality disorder, bipolar, and as a small child growing up, you're just a kid. You don't know what you
Right.
don't understand it. You just know, like, hey, I'm trying to keep mom happy so I can go play.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And that was definitely challenging, among other things. As I became an adult, I understood, that she was doing her best and that she didn't want me to fall into that cycle. But in the moment, as a child, uh, she took pretty extreme measures to keep me um, on the straight and narrow and focused on what was important. For example, I remember we would go to various parts of the city to go visit family members or to go do certain functions. And when we would go in certain neighborhoods, my mom would have me kneel down on the floor of the back seat of our 1990 Honda Accord and
Mm.
play with toys and read books during certain neighborhoods, because she didn't want me to see the streetwalkers, the
Wow.
wine heads, the drug dealers, all of this really difficult poverty surrounding us. So she was literally doing everything in her power to make sure that I I didn't turn out to be the same as everyone else.
Wow. So she was shielding you, right?
Absolutely.
From reality, I guess. But you can only shield somebody for so long.
It
Uh,
was
I'm
tough.
sure you're still able to see things, right?
Of course. And as you grow older, you become more aware of this kind of imbalance of
Mhm.
where other people are getting more liberties and able to do a little bit more. I was, in high school, still within 8:30 bedtime, and it's like, come on,
Mm.
it's like, where's the test and responsibility to see if you're gonna uh, how I do with that responsibility.
Right.
And there were some other things, like, the religious cult, which I'm sure we're going to get into, that
Mhm.
deeply influenced my childhood as well.
So when did this whole thing happen? Before we go into the cult and everything else, talk to me about your grandma, because
Hmm.
she obviously was a big influence on you, but she also was taking in her daughter, dealing with her daughter's issues, if you will, and her daughter, who had this beautiful little boy running around trying to just play and have fun, and meanwhile seeing how maybe her daughter was doing her best. So she had to be, and you said she was a big influence, but what do you recall? How was their relationship in regard to your relationship with her?
It was, um, there were a lot of things that my grandmother didn't agree with
Mhm.
when it came to me, but my grandmother also knew the big picture goal. My grandmother was born in the Depression in rural Kansas, so she understood what it was like to uh, to want and to
Mm.
kind of pursue a better life.
Right.
She was the daughter of a coal miner and a homemaker, um, and she had 14 brothers and sisters. She was one of two sets of twins.
Mm.
So a very different time from, obviously, when I was growing up. So on one hand, my grandmother knew firsthand that the tough love, the bare knuckle grinding through is
Mm.
the only way you're going to survive, is was kind of the way. But there were some things that she could see regarding my mother's mental health issues that she's like, that's not quite right. So their
Mm,
relationship was, um, unfortunately, my mother's also passed, and
mm.
my
Sorry to
grandmother
hear that.
was the one that found her, passed, which I can't imagine as a parent finding your daughter, passed on. But um, it was, they had a very difficult relationship at times, and also at times very beautiful as well.
Mm. Wow, wow. And I love the fact that you knew details about your grandma,
Mm.
'cause a lot of people never have those conversations to even find out, right? They're just like, "Ah, that's grandma, that's grandpa, that's auntie, that's uncle," whatever it is, but they don't have conversations to find out about their life. How was that for you?
It was really amazing in so many ways. To your point about having conversations, I spoke to my grandmother in probably the 20 years before, 10, 20 years before she passed,
Mm,
almost every day driving
wow.
home from work. Like that was our time to talk. And, she had, I think, 20, not 20, she had a significant amount of grandchildren, and I was one of them that checked on her the most. But again, I grew up with her.
Right,
So
right.
it was, we had that rapport. Um, to answer your question, it was fascinating because it was, reading about the depression in history books and then speaking to someone
Mhm.
who lived it firsthand is completely different.
Right.
And I've always been very interested in history and how
Mm,
the world is and how it came to be and those types of things. And you know, growing up in rural Kansas for her is very different than the south side of Chicago.
right, right, right.
So it just felt like something in kind of a storybook that,
Mm,
she read, and or that she was sharing with me. And
right.
like, particularly with her brothers going to war and some of them coming back
Mm,
and not being so mentally sharp afterwards. And her brothers and sisters that died while in infancy because there wasn't enough nutrients, enough food to
mm,
go around. Those types of really difficult things that
mm.
we're used to experiencing today.
Yeah, wow. It is very interesting. I had a conversation with a World War vet.
Wow.
I
Wow.
know, right? Can you imagine?
Oh my goodness.
And, he was, this is when I was a kid, right? So this is, I don't know, 50 somewhat years ago. And it was very interesting when he talked about things. And it was my favorite time. And he was not even family. He was just somebody that my sister was helping out. Him and
Wow.
he was my sister was helping her husband, her and his wife. And I used to go there and I used to like help around and clean and whatever. But it was just fun when I got the chance to talk to him and listen to war stories, if you will. Because it's not something that I necessarily went through, right? Nothing that you went through with what your grandma went to, but it's fascinating to hear their take on what they saw, what they went through. So thank you for sharing that, and it's so beautiful that we can still share those stories with others, right? Especially with your daughter or somebody even listening now. Maybe sometimes I have youngsters who listen to this show, but I also have people who've never heard of somebody who lived during the Depression, or somebody who lived through World War One. So think about the impact that your grandma had on you growing up. And then I want to get into what you talked about the cult. At what age did that happen, and who brought it?
Oh my goodness. A lot to unpack there. So my mother and grandmother were a part of this religious organization, before I was born.
Mm,
So they were kind of in it. And um it was a cult more so of the mind and how they wanted you to believe and think,
mm,
less Think Waco, Texas, with barbed wire compound, drinking specially made cocktails or
Right, right.
Kool-Aids or things like that. It wasn't necessarily that. It was more of a really strict mind control
Mm,
in how you navigated the world and your belief systems. So, for example, as a child, I wasn't allowed to eat chocolate or
mm,
watch cartoons like the rest of the kids. I wasn't allowed to, no one was allowed to, uh, play sports. And so growing up in
mm.
the peak of the 90s, the Jordan era,
Right, 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 right.
not really being able to do that or play basketball with the kids in the street or play football, was it even participate in gym class. Like it was really um, pretty restrictive in that way. And
Mhm.
we also didn't celebrate holidays.
Mm,
So, no birthdays, no Christmas. And it just felt like every step of the way, I was different from all of the other children. I was different from, couldn't participate in Valentine's Day,
mm.
things,
Halloween.
Halloween, or,
Mm,
and, not being able to participate in gym class. So it just felt really difficult, and ultimately it led to me being suicidal super early in life.
right.
Yeah,
Wow, wow. It's very interesting that you say you couldn't celebrate certain holidays. How about birthdays?
none of it.
Yeah. Is this Jehovah Witness?
No,
Kind of? Okay.
no.
'Cause I know that they don't celebrate birthdays or holidays. I have a member who I just found out he's 5 years old, and we said, "We're doing this thing." He goes, "Oh, I don't celebrate, um, Halloween." I'm like I was taken back for a little kid nowadays to say, "I don't celebrate Halloween." I was like, "Oh, okay." I said,
Yeah,
"But we're not celebrating Halloween, we're just having fun." "No, not for me." I was like, "Wow, okay." That was interesting for me.
it's my heart goes out to that person because I was there my entire childhood, and
Mm,
constantly having to explain and feel bad, and you know on one hand, I do understand. Wow, I'm sure your viewers at home couldn't hear that, but I'm in Las Vegas and we're having a thunderstorm,
are you
which
really? No, I
is
didn't hear
super
it. So
rare. So this is like a holiday.
it is literally a holiday, especially because when you consider Vegas, it barely ever rains, and if it
Right.
does, like for 3 minutes, not even 3 minutes, right? I love, Vegas, I love LA and all these places that you're in, but, so, did you hear thunder?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's what it caught me off guard. I apologize for interrupting the show, but I was like, "Holy crap, we're getting rain."
Woohoo, time to celebrate,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
singing in the rain, you gotta go out and celebrate, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You can't ignore something like that.
No,
Um,
no.
but I'm sorry, forgive me. What was your question?
It wasn't. I was just we were talking about the little kid, and you said your heart goes out to him about not being able to celebrate Halloween. So you were not able to celebrate any events. So a question for you is, how did you get out of gym class if you couldn't do it? What did you get a letter from your mom? Did your mom go in place or your grandma? How did that happen?
It was kind of yes to all of the above.
Mm,
When I would go to a new school, elementary school, she would go and speak to the principal, my mother, and would explain to them, hey, due to our religious beliefs, et cetera, my son won't be participating in gym class. Um, and some of the schools did try to push back on it. And she being my mother, would have some of the religious clergy call the school and explain, like, hey, this is our deal. We're due to whatever
mm,
legal or constitutional right, he can participate in, like, jogging and physical fitness, but none of the sports, no volleyball, no basketball, those types of things.
right. He's
um
just there to learn math and English and science.
yeah,
How
kind
about
of.
science? How about science? What was that allowed?
Yes, yes.
Okay, okay.
um but So, that took care of, and I knew some of the teachers felt bad for me,
Mm,
um, because,
right, right.
you're the only person in the entire school, more or less, that
Mm,
has to sit out or, find an alternative activity. So I know some of the teachers empathized, but it was for a small child, like the teachers weren't really the issue. It was kind
the
of
other
being
kids.
ostracized by the other kids. Exactly.
Yeah. Was there any bullying going on because of it? You
Oh,
say
for sure.
ostracizing, but bullying, like, you
Oh,
can't
big time.
run, the kind of deal, teasing kind of deal?
Big time.
How
Big
about
time.
physical bullying?
Uh, there were definitely kids that would find any reason to fight,
Mm,
especially, you know, I didn't have a dad. We were a little bit poor, didn't have the
mm,
newest shoes, clothes, etc.
right.
You know, kids can be mean, and it doesn't
Oh,
take a ton for for them to find a reason. So, I had to learn pretty quickly how to defend myself.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I trust me, I know about bullying because I was bullied a lot. So, but when you consider, so was this? You said it was more mind control, right? Which is, if you think about it, all to me, and I am, Christian and Catholic and so forth. But I believe that all religion is a little bit of mind controlling, right? And whoever wants to send me email and stuff like that, just don't do it because I'm not going to read it, right? So if you don't like what I said, it's too bad. But that's my belief, and I believe that the way we all are in this world, that we have to respect each other's beliefs. So you talked about contemplating suicide. Thank God you didn't, right? What were some of the thoughts that went through you that you even contemplated it?
I was about 15 or 16, and we were, as I mentioned, it just felt like every step of the way I was different, and I wasn't allowed to, participate in after school activities. I was still, you know, combining the religion with the strict protectiveness of my
Mm,
mom,
mm,
both of them together, I just felt like I had no room to breathe or
mm.
to um, experience life for myself without some sort of guardrails.
Right, right.
You
Yeah,
know,
absolutely.
it was really difficult. So I remember uh, we would fast on Fridays and Sundays.
Mm,
Uh, because we had church on Fridays and Sundays, and so that was like a sacrifice for the Lord,
mm,
for lack of a better term. And so I remember leaving church on a Friday night, and the church was the street was on a boulevard, and there were always lots of heavy trucks going back and forth. And it was late night on this Friday night, probably 10 o'clock, and I remember leaving church, looking down the street, seen a truck driving, and I was thinking like, man, life might be easier if I just stepped in front of this truck and
wow.
just ended at everything.
Mm,
Um, and I still viscerally remember that. I don't remember how I got through it, honestly, but I
mm.
do remember kind of thinking afterwards, like the next day or a couple days later, if I did that, my mom would probably still kick my butt from beyond the grave for giving her more trouble. So
Wow.
it was, it was a difficult time for a 16-year-old for sure.
Oh, yeah,
I
absolutely.
actually signed up for the Air Force at the age of 15 and went into the delayed entry program.
Mm,
And which meant basically I was signed up, I was in the military, I just would not start until I graduated high school and turned
mm.
18, et cetera, et cetera. So,
Which military did you pursue at
Air Force.
15? Air Force. Wow. So, you contemplated, jumping in front of this truck. But thank God somehow you don't recall how you didn't. But then you thought a couple of days later and you thought, man, I'm still going to get my butt kicked. So I might as well not jump into it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank the Lord because you now have a beautiful young lady in your life who calls you dad and looks up to you. So a lot of times it is the darkest moments that we can look back on and say that we're thankful that we didn't pull the trigger on that one.
Absolutely. She, being my daughter, saved my life
Ooh,
again as
powerful.
well.
Yeah.
Um, and I'll get into that. Towards the end of my military service, I was at the brink of another, suicidal bout, and she
Mm,
pulled me back. Um, but yes, um, life is good now. Super thankful. I'm in, much better place, but it's difficult when you're a child and you're going through all of these heavy things that are outside of your control,
mhm.
and navigating that it can be tough when you don't have any
Yeah,
control.
can be. Also, you didn't really have a father figure, did you? Did anybody in I guess I'm going to say church or your religion or your cult? How would you label that?
Um, yeah, I mean, church cult, that it's
Mm,
in my context, it's synonymous. Obviously, it's not for everyone,
right, right.
but my uncle definitely tried to be a strong positive influence in my life. My mother didn't necessarily have the best relationship with him, so it
Mm,
became difficult for her to, allow him to get too close to me. There were a couple people at the church that also tried to reach out, but my mom was really not trusting of other
mm,
people, kind of in general. So um, I didn't have a ton of positive male influences that I could
gotcha.
interact with on a day to day, which really, again, it felt like I didn't have many people I could reach out to. And so my person became my grandmother because
Mm,
she kind of understood both sides of it. She's
right.
like, look, I get that your mother is a little bit extra and doing a lot, but as I grew up and matured, and turned into my 20s, I completely saw the vision of her trying to protect and make sure that she does everything in her power to make sure that I was successful in a difficult world.
Mm. As a young man, you probably felt not only isolated, but probably lonely.
Very lonely, and the only child as well.
Oof.
So wasn't
Did
allowed to play sports with kids, get recess, wasn't allowed to play with the neighbors if they were playing, touch football or something. So sorry.
no, no, no. I'm listening and I'm going, wow. When you think about what you went through, I mean, it's hard enough for even kids who are able to do all those things and they feel alone and isolated. But you truly were isolated, and the only two people in your life really were two women. Two women, right? So it was the female dynamic, if you will, right?
Absolutely.
And so you, how was your mom thinking at 15 that you signed up for the Air Force?
She hated it. She did
Mm,
not want that for me.
right.
She one of the many battles that I fought with my mom,
I'm sure.
um, she
Yeah, I'm
wanted
sure.
me to be an attorney or a doctor. There
Wow.
was no other options for her, and
Mm,
I saw things differently. It was my dream to become a commercial airline pilot,
mm,
and you speaking about how difficult it was as an only child. I remember um, being in Chicago, and we were in the flight path of Midway Airport. Chicago's second airport. And I used to lay in the grass in the backyard and look up at
Mm,
the airplanes coming in and wonder, like, oh my goodness, how cool, where have they been? What cool adventures have they done? Like, I wonder what it's like to get away. And
mm.
so as long as I can remember, airplanes have been kind of a sign of freedom,
Ah,
or being able to live your life.
escape,
And
right?
yeah, absolutely. So I had it in my mind to become an airline pilot. I chose the Air Force because I didn't want to burden my mother and my grandmother with paying for flight school and that whole
Mm,
rigmarole. So I knew that the Air Force was a good option to
mm.
travel, to get away. It was strong enough to pull me out of that environment, and um, hopefully I was able to pursue my dream. Ultimately, I wasn't, but I've lived an amazing life nonetheless.
Mm, mm. One of the things that you talked earlier is that you fasted on Fridays and Sundays, right?
Yes, sir.
I do intermittent fasting, so it's very interesting that a lot of religions work on the fasting aspect because but it's a healthy reason too. And a lot of people think like, oh, you're being deprived of food. It's actually our body needs time to process. And the reason I'm bringing it back up because when you said it, I'm like, wow, because it's not just the one you were in, but I've heard of so many different types of religion who fast. Ramadan, they fast from morning till night, and then at night they break everything out and they start getting crazy with food, right? But for me, it's a fasting in a smart way. How do we do it so we replenish this incredible gift that we've been given from God? So I'd love to share this with you. Take a look, and then we can talk about it if you like.
Please.
You followed the rules, tried the restrictions, counted the carbs, the steps, and the failures. You're not lazy, you're exhausted from doing it all without real change. What if the problem isn't you, but the plan? Sifu's Mind Body Method is a 90-day transformation built on 7 unshakable pillars: mindset, movement, nutrition, hydration, fasting, journaling, and faith. This isn't another shortcut. It's your structure, your strength, your reset. You don't need harder, you need better. Ready to begin? Start today. That's it. That's one of the programs, many of the programs that I do, I share with people. Um, so you saw it said there that fasting is one of the 7 pillars. Um, how did you feel about? See, a lot of people say fasting is not for me, and you kind of were forced into fasting. How did that make you feel? Did you say like, "Oh man, I hate Fridays. I hate Sundays because I want to eat," right? How was that for you?
It was difficult,
Mm,
and I'll caveat everything by saying this. It was really, um, as a teenager, I was required to start fasting, and it was a requirement in the religion, kind of unilaterally, to fast on Fridays and Sundays. So from morning until maybe 10 o'clock at night on Fridays, we would fast, and then from the moment you wake up, Sunday until about 5, we would fast. So I used to get super, really difficult migraines that I would
mm,
just be kind of, um, laying in a corner, curled up,
mm,
suffering from these migraines. And I know now, as an adult, if I don't, and I still do intermittent fasting as well, if I don't prepare the proper way my body, I will get a headache by between 2 and 3 o'clock. I
Mm,
know, and it
mm,
will be a crippling migraine. So I emphasize with folks, it can be a very powerful tool. It can work with you, but make sure you're doing it in a way that is sustainable for your body. I don't recommend it like unilaterally without, dealing with the nutritionist, like
mhm,
testing it in small increments first, because it can wreak havoc if you don't necessarily have a guide like yourself
mm,
uh, that's experienced in this, or a physician, a dietitian, etc. The benefits are amazing,
mm.
but as a child, it was difficult
Oh, yeah.
to really manage your body energy, and you learn. Now the other half of it, I'll say, is uh, fasting was one of the elements in the religion that taught me the power of mental strength and the power of discipline and what you can do if you put your mind to it.
Mhm,
And as a result, me joining the military, because of all of this mental discipline that I had built up from having to kind of be different and ostracized and
right.
still mentally, um, be sharp and focused on my objectives, when I got to basic training, it was a cake. It was genuinely, it was fun.
Everybody else was struggling except you.
I mean, don't get me wrong, like, they will push you to the
Oh,
limit
yeah.
with physical workout, but I knew it was a mental game, and once
Mm,
you understand that that's a mental game, then you just have to, they want you to conform to the way they want you to think, you got the whole ball game.
oh, yeah, I love it, I love it. So, whether you knew it or not, you were being prepared, to be this incredible human being that you've turned out to be, and, I'm enjoying this conversation so much because the opportunities that you took because of what you went through, right, really have sharpened you as a human being, so thank you for sharing that. So you earlier mentioned, Michael Jordan, and I'm
Yes.
like, "Wait, this how does he know Michael Jordan? He was never allowed to look at games or play or" so when did you discover, or when was the first time you ever played a game?
Oh my goodness. So,
Was it in boot camp? Was it,
as as I grew older and became, a bit more self-sufficient, I did choose to play without my parents' knowledge some games
mm,
in high school. So I started playing, football and basketball and things like that. I was terrible at it because I didn't grow up really bad. And you know, I I definitely struggled with that physical element of it, of sports, when you don't grow up with someone giving you those fundamentals. However, I definitely did sneak, and when I knew
mm,
that, like, okay, when I grow up, this religion isn't for me. I'm not going to continue,
right.
this path after I leave my mother and grandmother's house. So I definitely kind of did my own thing when they weren't looking. Obviously I wanted to be respectful of their rules,
Mm,
things of that nature, but definitely had chocolate, and would occasionally go over my friend's house and watch cartoons or watch The Simpsons, and just kind of be a kid whenever I thought I could get away with
mm. It's very interesting because, it's that human nature when you're told no over and over and over again, you go like, "Mm, maybe I could do a yes," without them knowing, right? So this is a word of advice for all parents. Be careful what you continually tell your children no, because they're gonna find a way to go do it, right? So, maybe, guide them along the way, right? So
Completely agree.
what was you talked about the mental game in boot camp, and I love that you brought that up because, physical challenges, any physical challenges is truly a mental game that you're forget everybody outside, but it's that internal game that you're playing to see, can I accomplish this? Or how fast do we give up on what we actually could do? Because the body is the most incredible machine in the world.
Absolutely. Absolutely. As and I think that, as you stated, that's kind of the whole ball game.
Mhm.
Once you realize the power of your mind and what you can accomplish with it, it completely changes the game. In terms of mental warfare in basic training, they would keep us up until 3 o'clock in the morning, and then let us go to sleep and wake us up at 5.
Mm.
And once you realize that they are just preparing you for, um,
Battle.
if you have to work long hours, if there is a situation that requires you to focus and be sharp, and maybe you didn't get 8 hours of sleep, maybe you didn't get a full night's rest, but guess what? You're still able to follow and conform to the rules,
Mhm.
think logically, and make safe, sound decisions. Like, once you realize that, okay, they're actually trying
Right.
to help me,
Yeah. That's
it
right.
makes you understand the rationale a little bit more. Um, when we were in the gas chamber, and they had, we were testing our chemical warfare gear. They would have you put on your gear, you go into this particular gas chamber, and uh, they would make sure that your gear was functioning properly, and then they'd have you take it off
Mm.
and breathe in the gas, and it's tear gas, and it makes you start your eyes run, your nose run, all of your orifices. It just starts to perspire.
Right.
But once you realize that they're teaching you to trust your gear, that if you use their gear properly, it will save your life. You're like, hmm, okay, I get it. I can see how this will help me. In the moment, there's craziness, but you learn again to think calmly in these situations. They'll give you a set of instructions. Don't touch your face, don't touch your mouth, don't touch anything. Walk out with your arms, breathe deeply, and it will pass. And you know
Mm.
what? It passes.
Mhm.
So, once you understand their mind games, it really has set me light years ahead of some of my other folks in life. So
Mm. Yeah. I think that everybody should share this with anybody who is going to go into the military or boot camp, because the words of advice that you just shared with somebody, nobody realizes it, especially at that young age, that they're not there to torture you. They're actually helping you learn how to navigate difficult situations, and so that you can come out ahead, because that's why they call it boot camp. It's not like, "Hey, let's go party camp." No, it's not that, right? It's not like, "Let's go socialize camp." No, it's boot camp because they're gonna kick you in the butt with their boot, right? In other words,
absolutely, absolutely.
and that's why some of these training is Navy SEALs and so forth. There was a young man that was at a place that I lived in, a facility that had a public pool for just the residents, right? And this young man came in and he asked me to tie his hands and his feet, and then he was gonna go swimming. And I'm like, but he didn't want his hands tied in front of me, he wanted behind him. And then he
Okay.
said, just he sat on the edge, just push me in, and then he swam around the pool, right, underwater. And I said,
Wow.
"Okay, now I get what you're doing, right? You're doing Navy SEAL training so that he was looking to become a Navy SEAL, but he understood before he went to the training what he would have to endure." And so many people, they go in blank or without an idea, and then therefore they're like, "Oh my God, think I'm gonna die," right? Unfortunately, my brother he was a Marine, and 4 days, actually 4 people committed suicide the day before graduation,
Oh,
they were already done with all their training. They're just the mental capacity they couldn't handle.
oh,
Unfortunately, they took their own lives, right? So it's a sad thing, but I think one of the things is that we have to, maybe what you're talking about is that maybe the idea and the concept that you just shared should be in all training manuals, that we're not here to harm you. We're here to prepare you for an in case there's an actual battle and you're going to be exhausted, but yet you still have to defend your life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Once you realize that the mental game is arguably more important than the physical game, because if you can withstand what the enemy with externally and internally gives you, you are unstoppable.
Mm,
You are truly unstoppable, especially the internal game, because we limit ourselves more than anyone in the external will ever.
absolutely. Yeah, it's the internal game for sure. Logan, we have about 15 minutes left, and I feel like we have barely touched the surface, my friend. I think we're going to have to do episode 2 on this, right? Because you have such an interesting life. I love you. You articulate so well. You're very well spoken. You know what is required to advance. So before we go any further, I want to share one more thing with you, and then we can, because you were going to be here with us, but because of your schedule, your tight schedule, you couldn't. But let me share it with you anyways. Take a look.
The city never sleeps, and neither do the dreamers who build its pulse. From every corner of the globe they come. Visionaries, creators, leaders, each carrying a spark ready to ignite the world. This is not an event, it's a revolution of rhythm and reason. A symphony of minds, a movement of momentum. Sifu Rafael, Lancelot, Jose Escobar. Together they set the stage for brilliance. This is the NYC experience. Mastermind, light up the city. They coming from the east, coming from the west. Knowledge on deck, put the truth to the test. Leaders in motion, hearts in sync, dropping wisdom so deep it'll make you think. They bring stories, sweat and flame, different faces, one shared name. Elevation, that's the sound. NYC experience, mastermind, where purpose is found.
Boom.
Oh man, that looks great. What's better than New York City in Christmas time than New York City around Christmas?
Right. So I know that you had a calling that you were going to come, but then you couldn't. How long did you serve? And could you tell us what you went because you wanted to be a pilot? Did you become a pilot? Did you get in the trenches? What was the outcome of that whole experience for you? And how long did you serve?
I
And
served.
thank you for your service before I forget.
Oh, of course. Thank you. I served 12 years, 1 month, and 25 days.
Oh my goodness.
All over the world. My first duty station was just outside Anchorage, Alaska. Served in Belgium, California, 2 tours in Iraq. I was an airport operations manager, and we worked with air traffic to track the flights coming in and out, making sure that the airport was safe. Had the super blessed opportunity to be a part of so many really exciting, interesting missions. And while I wasn't able to train to be a pilot myself, I joined and passed all the tests, but unfortunately my eyesight was too poor to fly. And once I got eye surgery, I used to wear glasses. Once I got eye surgery, I was too old to begin pilot training. So it was just one of those things that didn't come to fruition, but I still had a blast.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you were involved, right?
Yeah. And I loved being around airplanes. Ultimately that's, I got to travel and explore and, go on those adventures that I dreamed of when I was a child.
So the first place was Alaska. How cold was it? And how long were you in Alaska for?
4 years, 4
Ooh.
long years in Alaska as a 19, 20, 21-year-old. Um, it gets pretty cold up there.
Mm,
So Anchorage is kind of in the southern portion of Alaska or mid-southern, but it doesn't get as cold as it does in the northern part of Alaska inside the
mm,
Arctic Circle. So, obviously we got below zero. I remember -10, I want to say
mm.
-14, with the brutal winds. It definitely reminded me of Chicago with the
Right.
winds and oh my goodness, that was
In New
not
York, right? So,
oh yeah, not something I was particularly happy about, but you
mm,
make the best of it.
yeah.
Gorgeous, gorgeous place, best seafood. Oh my goodness,
Oh, obviously the best seafood, right?
for sure.
Right, right. So did you, what was the your most favorite place when you served that you did serve and you were able to partake in the culture?
Oh my goodness. Um, every place is special. It's
Of
really
course.
hard to
One
separate
that
them.
stands out, one that
I
stands
mean,
out.
so I would say probably it's a tie between Belgium and Korea.
Mm,
Both of them are just super robust in culture and food, in vibrancy, in their thought patterns. Both, obviously two sides of the world, very unique.
mhm,
Um, Belgium is kind of a melting pot of Europe, where it's,
mm,
you're, an hour bullet train from the Netherlands, Amsterdam. You're an hour and a half from Paris. You're, an hour and a half from Cologne, Germany. So it's kind of, they speak three
oh,
different languages there. So it's kind of such a melting pot.
mm,
You can get any culture at any given time,
right, right.
seemingly at will. Korea, it's kind of the same, although the Korean culture is so robust and rich with their
Mm,
food and their holidays and even their architectural style. It's all so memorable.
right, right. What was the language in Belgium? Was English predominant or because I
Oh,
know a lot of places, English is starting to become, but what was the language?
in Belgium, they spoke Flemish, which is Dutch, uh,
Mm,
and German. So they actually had three national languages, and they spoke more French close to France, German close to Germany, and Dutch close to the Netherlands. But um, most of the populated cities understood English because
mm,
we're not too far, or they're not too far from England and the huge influence that they have. But it was so in that way, it was pretty easy to navigate over Korea and excuse me, some of the other locations that I've visited.
mm. Did you learn other languages while you were there?
Yes, you have to.
Mm, I love that, by
My
the way.
Yeah, you're out there and living in Belgium, they don't necessarily bring a English menu. So you have to learn how to read French. You have to learn how to like, okay, fromage, that's cheese, okay, and we got some pasta and we got some, chicken, canard, duck, okay, got it,
Mm.
and those types of things.
Right, right.
Even in Hangul, which is Korean, you learn to pick up. Now, at certain points, I was conversational, but I wasn't fluent. Like it was
Mm,
very broken, primitive. In
mm,
both Belgium and Korea, I only lived there for about a couple years.
gotcha.
So I was, even though I was completely immersed in it, and in my opinion, that is by far and away the best way to learn a new language is completely immerse yourself.
Right, right.
Many people don't have that luxury, but if you can try that, like watch their TV, watch their social media, and you'll pick up on it a lot
Mm,
faster than if you just do like a Duolingo or something like
right,
that.
right. Yeah, absolutely. There's nothing like, speaking to someone because they can show you, they can expand on it. Um, incredible. I mean, you probably have 5 million stories as to each one of those stations you were at, all the people you met. In those 12 years, how many months? I know it was 25 days.
1 month.
1 month, 25 days. See, I remember some things, right? But for you to remember exactly 25 days, that's kind of funny to me, because that's you, right? That was part of your life. Would you say there was any one person who really impacted you and why?
Oh my goodness.
I know there was many.
That that one maybe. So I really struggle with this one, although, you know, being put on the spot, I will say my first supervisor, um, Master Sergeant Kevin Kramer in Alaska, really taught me the fundamentals of. He was probably my first male influence in the military,
Mm, of
and
course.
he took me under his wing
Mm,
and really kind of showed me the ropes of what it took to be successful in the military. He won some really high accolades in the military for bravery in Iraq and doing some absolutely outstanding work there. And he kind of gave me the blueprint for what it took to be successful in the military and in life.
mm,
And once so if I had to choose one person, I would say Kevin Kramer, KC
wow.
as we called him.
There you go. All right, Kevin. Thank you for helping this young man. Um, you served longer than most. Then you decided it was time. What was the catalyst for that decision?
Wow. I don't know, Sifu. I don't know if we have enough time to unpack all this. I'll do my best.
This is why we need to. We're going to do another show. Would you be willing to do that?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay,
You name the
let's not
time and
wait
place,
too
I'm
long.
there. Yes, sir.
Well, it's gonna have to be coaching call because it's got to be just you and me, and we're gonna make it happen, right? And even if I don't have a date available, we'll make a date available, just
I love
because
it.
we need to get to this. So we'll remember that question, right? And then
I can give you a
you
high level. I can give you a super high level.
go high level. Let's go.
I, as I mentioned, I spent 2 tours in Iraq,
Mm,
and there I realized that so many amazing people were not coming back the same if they came back at all.
mm,
And
right.
I realized that I was playing it safe, living in my comfort zone, and if I really truly wanted to live, if I was given this opportunity to leave Iraq as a sane person, I
Mm,
needed to live and pursue my dreams um, relentlessly. And so there's a lot of other significant moments in that timeline, but I
mm,
decided to after my contract ended, after my tour, um, I chose to pursue my dream of working in live television events and directing them,
Wait a
which is
minute.
what
Wait
I
a minute. Wait a
do
minute. What do
today.
you mean? How'd you get there? What?
That's why you got to
Oh
tune
my
in for the
goodness.
next episode.
You're like, I went from this to something totally different, right? Did you even touch upon any of that during your military career?
Not once, not once. I completely changed my entire
How on
trajectory
earth
for life.
did that even pop into your head?
I used to be fascinated as a child with how live television, the satellite link ups and all of the teams of people working together to make sure it happened live and everything was accurate. Like film is special, but live, it just
Mm,
really excited me. That this was actually happening seconds before it reaches my TV screen, and I've always been infatuated with it.
yeah, yeah. Wow. And that's why we're live now, right?
Live, baby. There's no better way.
So people can watch the replay, and please do share this show with somebody. I got to tell you, Logan, fascinating. I am thrilled that you and I have become friends. I can't wait for our friendship to continue to grow, and I can't wait to see you in person. And this is why you're actually in the live space now, because you're going between LA, right, and Las Vegas, and you're constantly back and forth. This is why you couldn't be with us at our event, because you have a live event happening, and when the live events call, they need you, right? So I want to thank you for today. So impactful. We got to make this. We can't wait too long to come back for
We
the
will.
continuum of this incredible chat that you and I are having. And I hope anybody who is listening, that you understand that this is not just a gentleman named Logan, right? He is somebody who is impacting lives with his story and with his mission in life. And creating live events is a incredible, powerful thing that you're doing. So thank you for all you've done, all you've served our country. You kept me safe, so thank you for that. You've kept so many people top of mind, because I believe anybody who's ever served in the military um, does not realize sometimes the impact that their service has done throughout the world. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. It means a lot. And I appreciate you and this platform and your audience. I love the great work that you're doing, bringing this much needed advice and resiliency, and helping your audience, get through whatever situation in life by offering tools and transformational experiences like the New York City experience. Go support, go check it out.
Yeah.
It's going to be great, and I'm going to be there.
Yeah.
Not this time, but in a future
The
one.
the next couple of ones that we have. So everybody, do me a favor, listen up really quickly right now, because I'm going to let Logan share with you why it's important for you to connect with him. His website is going across the bottom. It is easy to know, theloganunlimited.com. So Logan, you have 45 minutes to a minute. Take it away, my friend.
Love it. Love it. Thank you so much. As you've heard in the past hour, I have had a myriad of life-changing, really difficult experiences, and starting in the religious cult to being in Iraq and having some really difficult experiences there. I didn't even get to it, but I went through another bout of suicidal ideations, and it was knowing that I didn't want my daughter to know that was an option. And that she could take her life and get out of a difficult time. And that was another catalyst for me pursuing my dream of directing live television events. I've been directing for about 10 years now, and I've taken time to understand the neuroscience behind why I was able to accomplish my dreams, how I was able to fight through really difficult times, and integrating a mind, body, and mental discipline philosophy to achieve my dreams and goals. And I now am a motivational speaker and a coach, and I help people like yourselves achieve your dreams through mental discipline, military tactics, and neuroscience, proven actual neuroscience, to get you to be the most effective person that you've ever been in your life. So check me out, The Logan Unlimited. Follow me on social media, The Logan Unlimited. Love to be of service, and keep following Sifu. I mean, he's got all the good stuff.
And everybody stay tuned, because Logan will be one of our speakers at a future events for sure. He's a professional speaker and somebody that we can all learn from. So thank you for today. And remember, we're going to come back. We need to continue. We just started peeling the onion, and what happens when you start peeling the onion, you either cry, but you need to keep going with the layers.
You got to keep going.
Thank you, brother. Really, really appreciate you. Do me a favor, hang out for a sec. Everybody, do yourself a favor. Share this with somebody. And if you need to, look at it again because it's so, so informational. Thank you, everybody. God bless. See you guys soon.